Thank you for that introduction and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and I'm really excited. So I know that we have a brief time together, so I do have quite a bit of slides. I may go a little bit quickly, but the good news is that it is being recorded, so you can certainly go back and review it at any time. So, getting ready to age in place. What I'd like to talk about today, sorry, if my slides would work, is first go over some statistics about older adults, and then I'd like to talk about a checklist that the government of Canada has developed. Then I'd like to go over the Care First, the model of care that we have in place at our organization, and then finish off with some 6 tips as well as some resources to share with everyone. So, according to CIHI, there are more and more, seniors. So over the, next 20 years, it's expected to grow by 68%. And the 75 plus age group is actually going to double. And it's not just in Ontario, it's just throughout Canada. We're seeing more and more, aging seniors, the baby boomers aging and such. And, taking a look at, our statistics, roughly around 1 in 5 is of the Canadian population is 65 and older. Roughly 7.3 million of Canadians are 65 and up. And we also have around 13,000 individuals who are 100 years and older. And when we look at the seniors, more than 1/3 of us have 2 or more chronic diseases, and we're also living longer. So, 89 years of age for females and 87 years of age for males. Now, I just wanted to highlight a few things on this poster, and which is the top part here, which is that 73% of individuals 65 years and up have at least one of the 10 common chronic diseases. And the most common chronic disease is hypertension, but this is actually largely manageable and sometimes preventable as well. But hypertension, or high blood pressure that we like to call it, is a leading risk factor for other heart diseases such as stroke and heart failure. And heart disease and diabetes also kind of round up the top 5 common diseases, which are kind of listed here in this poster. So there is a report about Canadian seniors, and like we mentioned again, older adults are living longer overall, reporting good health, but as we get older, we risk developing more and more chronic diseases. Certain diseases are more often to occur, so again, the prevalence, how it increases as we get older. And again, many of these are actually preventable or manageable. So like we said, hypertension, which is one of the main risk factors for heart disease, stroke, is preventable, manageable with lifestyle modifications and physical activity. Arthritis is also a very common chronic disease that we see in older adults. And again, this one, there's no cure per se, but we can also manage it. Another finding that they found in this report is that falls are a major cause of injury, disability, hospitalization, and premature mortality. So, going sooner than what we intended. And when we look at diseases that can cause disability, the main ones would be diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, heart failure, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So, when we look at the chronic diseases that can cause the most disability, these are the ones that we're looking at. So, if you have these diseases, it's really important that we, manage them and stay up on top of these things. So, with the aging population and with this knowledge in place, we did a survey. So the National Institute of Aging and the Canadian Medical Association did a survey, and they found that 96% of older adults would do everything that they can to avoid moving into an institutional setting, such as a long-term care home or a nursing home. So you're likely all here today because you have a goal. You want to age in place. However, a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? So just like with, meal planning for the week, or, losing weight, or even choosing a professional trade or a career, you need to have a plan, right? You need to have action items in order to make it come to fruition. So again, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So how do we make this happen? So I know we have to recognize that there are many things that might be out of our control. So, how many nursing homes are available? How many hours of publicly funded PSW that I can get? But what we can do specifically is identify the actions that we can personally take to prepare and increase our likelihood of aging in the right place. So, in a place that we want to age in. Today we're going to focus on that. So if you only remember one thing from this presentation, I hope it's this, and that it's the Government of Canada has developed a checklist to help you with this goal. So I'm going to go through it kind of briefly, and I'll tell you, how you can access this checklist. So it's, there's three parts to this checklist. So part one, it contains checklists that assesses 9 areas of your life, and how prepared you are to age in place with respect to that domain. And the checklists are simple yes, no answers. Part two is where you make notes about these 9 sections, depending on how many yes or no answers that you have. And then in part three, create a personal plan of action. And here I've listed that, you can order this checklist online. You can actually download the PDF as well on the Government of Canada website, or you can also call 1-800-O-Canada to order this guide. Now, the great thing about this checklist or guide is that it's specific to you. So your answers are going to be different from your neighbors. It's going to be different from, your family members or from your relatives or your friends. And so your plan of action is going to be specific for you and identifying what you need to do to age in place. And again, plan for the future today to help you live the life you want tomorrow. So I've taken some screenshots of some of the checklists so that you can get an idea of, what kind of statements they ask and how simple they are to answer. For the first one, it just says, I am physically active and I do a variety of physical activities that I enjoy. I eat 7 or more servings of fruits and vegetables in a day. I do not smoke, or I have a plan to quit in the future. So these are all very simple yes or no answers that you should have the answer to. So one thing I want to point out is that only 60%, or probably less than 60% of older adults meet the physical activity guidelines. And there are so many benefits to exercise, and I'm sure you know. But for me, I think one of the biggest benefits that I see for the older adults that I visit is that, physical activity can help with our balance, so reduce the risk for falls. And it's also great in kind of preventing frailty. So when we see really frail old people, when we do regular physical activity, that really kind of helps with that. And so what does the World Health Organization recommend? So I've listed it here. So at least 150 to 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity. So when you look at it, it's roughly 30 to 60 minutes of exercise, maybe 5 days a week. And if you want to do really intense, then you can kind of shorten that to 15 to 30 minutes a day of really intense aerobic physical activity. And what I like to do is I look at my rate of perceived exertion. So if I can barely make out a sentence when I'm working out, then it's likely going to be more vigorous or high intensity. And if I can still kind of make speak in sentences, then that's probably just like a moderate intensity. What we also need to do is muscle strengthening activities. So things that may require our body weights or the use of dumbbells or kettlebells 2 or more days a week, and as well incorporate activities that help with our functional balance and strength. So again, most of us are not meeting our physical activity limits or the recommendations, and also we're sitting around a lot as well, right? So it's really important that as we get older, we still continue to be very, very physically active. So another checklist that they look at is my home. So this checklist assesses your home and your preparedness to age in place. So for example, it says my home is in a location where I will not feel isolated in my later years and is close to services, friends, and family. The features in my home will adequately support my mobility and health needs for the next 10 to 15 years. So for example, are your doorways wide enough to be, a set, or a walker? Are you able to make bathroom modifications if needed? Another, statement is, if my health changes and I need to use a wheelchair or other mobility device, I am prepared to modify my home to accommodate my needs. So, can you build a ramp? Can you, install a chairlift? And, again, this is a plan, right? So we want to age in place, but if we could not, if I'm no longer able to remain in my current home, I'm aware of other housing options in my community. So it's important to consider where you want to live 10, 15, 20 years from now. So in terms of housing options for seniors, it's important to know what's available out there, right? So although our plan is to age in place, again, it's important to know what else is out there. So there are kind of six major types of housing options for seniors. There are independent dwellings. So that's the first one. This is our houses, or semi-detached, or our bungalows and such. And some may then choose to downsize and then perhaps move into like an independent seniors apartments. There's also a relatively new term, NORCs, which stand for Naturally Occurring Retirement Communities. So these were not built specifically for seniors in mind. So these were probably condos or an apartment building. But over time, more than 30% of the residents are 65 years and older, and at least 50 older adults in the building. So there are more and more of these kind of cropping up. They are called NORCs, and they found that it's an innovative housing model and infrastructure that can help support older adults with their independence, safety, and health. And within these NORCs, they found like the COVID vaccination efforts to be very successful because they would bring the vaccination perhaps to the building and the lobby of the NORC, and they were able to get a large number of people vaccinated. Another option is a life lease unit. So this is a condo style unit where people are independent, but they have the option to kind of purchase services that are attached to the condo. There are retirement residences or retirement homes. These are, pay for them yourself. So you pay for the accommodation, and then you can purchase services like a la carte, like medication reminders, bathing support. And then we know and are familiar with nursing homes or long-term care homes where the resident receives 24-hour nursing as well as personal care. So within all these housing options, people are eligible for publicly funded like PSW. It just depends on how much you get. But yeah, that's kind of like the spectrum of housing options right now. And within there's assisted living and supportive housing, but I won't get into that too much at this point, but just to be aware of the different options. So another great guide that I wanted to share with you is the Safe Living Guide, which is a guide to home safety for seniors. And this is available online. Again, you can Google it, or you can go to the Public Health Agency of Canada website. You can also order a paper copy or some other format by calling the number that I've listed here. So this guide also has checklists, but it's more detailed. It talks about the inside of your home, the outside. It talks about the stairs, it talks about the lighting, and again, you can check yes or no about it. And it talks about whether or not you have rugs or trip hazards. So it's more specific in terms of how you keep safe. There's also, a checklist about, safety aids, keeping healthy and active, and keeping your mind active as well. So another thing to consider is that, with the home, you can request sometimes through the home and community care for an occupational therapist to come in to assess the home environment to identify potential safety issues. So another area to look at within the Government of Canada, guide for aging in place is transportation. So most older adults will actually live 7 to 10 years past their ability to drive safely. So although we want to think that we are going to drive forever, there comes a point where, you likely will not be able to drive, but you still have, another 7 to 10 years. So think about, how you plan on traveling when you're older. So, and I know many driving as a right, like it's my right to drive, but it's also a privilege, right? Like we need to be able to do it safely. And so it's important to be aware of and know of other transportation options, again, as a backup plan. And we also recognize that, not having that transportation is a big contributor to social isolation. So if you know of someone who, is having trouble getting out, you know, trying to being aware of that and how you may be able to support that person with transportation. Now, in terms of what's out there, again, it will likely vary by geographical region. But here in Toronto, we have public transportation, so the TTC, the Toronto Transit Commission. If we go up a bit north, there's the York Region Transit. We also have the GO. There's also now a lot of ride sharing, right? So people can take a taxi. Now there's also Uber and Lyft and other options for people with mobility issues. There's Wheel-Trans, and many nonprofit or community agencies also offer rides to and from medical appointments for older adults. So you can certainly call 211 or the Toronto Seniors Helpline, or even just reach out to your local maybe community health agency or center to see if they have any supports for transportation, even for groceries and such. So another checklist that they do have is about finances. So for example, it states, I have thought about my retirement and the kind of lifestyle that I would like to have. I have thought about the kinds of supports and services that I'll need that I may need to purchase as I age, right? So some of us may not have family or relatives to help us out. So if we don't, are we able to purchase these services? So can I hire someone to come and help me clean? Can I hire someone to help me with the grocery shopping? And another statement is, I have a plan for who will be responsible for my financial affairs if I'm unable to look after them myself. So again, the Government of Canada, they have some programs and services, available here. You can just check the website out for more information. And then there's the power of attorney. So you should consider having a power of attorney in place regardless of your age or financial situation. And you can certainly go to the website listed here and get the free kit. And they also have a booklet that has frequently asked questions that's also available for download as well. And, I just wanted to highlight that it is important to share your values and your wishes to whoever, like to your family members. Would you want to have CPR? Would you want to have a breathing machine if, God forbid, something bad happens to you? So this guide helps to facilitate that conversation. Another part that it looks at is my connection. So, the ability to draw on social networks or friends or family is known to make an important contribution to the general well-being and quality of life. So it is important to stay connected. And, there's so many ways to do that, right? Like you can phone call now with smartphones, you can do, video call, you can meet up in person, you can email, and you can even mail, right? Write a letter to somebody. And technology is here to stay, and it can be a very powerful tool. And I know sometimes we can be reluctant to learn about technology, how to use all these different apps. There are a lot of companies that can provide free tech training for seniors. So there's Connected Canadians, there's the Toronto Public Library, there's also Cyber Seniors, or even your local library or learning center or college may offer some senior-oriented computer classes. And again, my slides will be available after the presentation, so you can kind of slowly peruse and see what works for you. And again, another domain that they look at is the supports and services. So, I have thought about what services and supports I may need to remain in my home. I've talked to family and friends about help I may need in the future so that they can prepare accordingly. I have thought of using devices such as video monitoring system, medication reminders, or personal response service to care for myself or my loved ones. So, compared to 20 years ago, there's so much technology available now, right? And so this is just a sample of what's available. So, there's Philips. You may have heard of Philips. They have Lifeline and whole other catalog of things. And with Lifeline, they have different versions where there's automatic falls detection or there's GPS tracking. You know, in the top right here, I have dispenser, which is an automated medication dispenser. So the medications are in like unit pouches. And then when the time comes, it'll kind of beep. Just press the button and it comes out. So this is really helpful for those where a blister pack isn't working as well as you would like it to. You're still kind of forgetting. There's also, you know, indoor cameras. I know a lot of family members who have installed this for their family member who lives alone. And then at the bottom here, TELUS also has a lot of technology available, so you can connect it with your smartphone. They also have a pendant. And again, with the aging and population, this is like a booming industry. So this is just like a small sample of what's available out there. There's much more, I believe, to come as well, but there is resources available to keep you safe at home. And finding the help you need. You know, there are now many organizations and companies available, right? So you can now hire non-PSW help. And what that means is, you know, you can hire agencies to help with housekeeping, meal prep, even companionship, or provide transportation for appointments and errands. There's publicly funded home care. So, you know, Ontario's 14 home and community care service, community care support service organizations, they coordinate like in-home PSW for, you know, hundreds of thousands of patients every month. And then there's the number that you need if you need to reach out to them. And there's also private paid home care, right? So again, it's going to probably depend on where you reside, but you can certainly check out homecareontario.ca, enter your postal code, and you can find providers that service your area. And, you know, word of mouth is also really good, or experiences from other family or friends. So once you've completed the checklist, then it's an opportunity for you to kind of write down, okay, well, based on my answers, you know, how would I like to address it? And what are my action plans that I'm going to take? So it would be wonderful to have a one-stop shop for, you know, all your needs, right? Where you can see your doctor, your specialist, you know, attend a falls prevention class or workshops, and also attend like an adult day program. And so I'd like to introduce the integrate model of care that, you know, the organization that I work, Care First, has adopted. And so at Care First, we have a comprehensive basket of healthcare and community support services. So we have a family health team where we have physicians and interprofessional team. We also have a specialist clinic in the building. We have an adult day program, multiple sites actually, as well as home care services. So I do know that we are serviced by the LHIN as well. So we work like contracted to the LHIN. We also have private pay home care services. We have community support services. So we provide transportation. We have telephone or in-person friendly visiting. We organize tax clinics at certain times of the year. We have a cardiovascular rehab program, falls prevention at several different sites within North Toronto, and then a myriad of different health topics and education sessions held by, you know, different experts. So we have kind of everything in one place. And what's been beautiful about this model is that the services at Care First are meant to support you throughout your wellness journey. So from your very well all the way to when you're severe or, you know, very severely frail. So you can see here on the left that, you know, someone who's very fit or well might attend a wellness education and health promotion class. They might attend a falls prevention class. And then, you know, later on, as they become more vulnerable or frail, they might attend, you know, the adult day program. They might enlist our home care services. And then as we progress through the frailty, you know, they may then need some short stay or transitional care, or, you know, may be admitted to our future long-term care home, which I will talk about next. So we have a lot to offer at Care First, so please contact us for more information. So we are located in Scarborough. Listed our website here. There's a number. You can also check out our Facebook, or, you know, send us an email if you have any questions about what we have. So we are building the One-Stop Multi-Services Center did win an award in 2015 for its integrated, actually in 2016 for its integrated care concept, and also an award for the design. And so we've kind of taken that and then also kind of, it will be also, I guess, part of the campus of care, like the ideology of it. So, you know, we have a nursing home that will be built. It's 120 beds. It'll also include medical center, social service and care hub, as well as a gymnasium. So please visit the Care First campus of care.ca for more information about that. So I know that was a ton of information, right? So my tips would be, one, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So first thing, if you don't remember anything from this presentation, it is to download the age in place checklist and start preparing. Number two would be to stay physically active. Continue activities you enjoy and don't be afraid to try something new. Tip number three would be falls are a leading cause of disability and institutionalization. So avoid and prevent falls before they happen, especially in the winter time with this weather. Please be very, very careful outside of the home and within the home as well. Designate a power of attorney or more than one power of attorney if you want, and let the person know what your wishes and values are. My fifth tip would be that many chronic diseases are preventable and manageable. And the 4 risk factors that we to look at is tobacco use, alcohol use, unhealthy eating, and physical activity. And I think often we kind of forget the non-medicated ways that we can approach our health and the importance of healthy eating and physical activity. And then my 6th tip is that, more is not always better. And as we get older, we are more susceptible to the side effects of medications. So it's not like more medications is better for you. Sometimes less is more. So falls are the leading cause of injury among older Canadians, and that over 1/3 of seniors are admitted to a nursing home following hospitalization after a fall. So please, please, please be careful and try not to fall out there. And really think about the type of senior that you want to aspire to be. Healthy senior on the right, on the left, or the one on the right that may need more support. And again, this just highlights, more is not always better, and some questions that you can consider asking your, healthcare provider. And again, as a pharmacist, I have to do a plug about medication. So, medication overload can cause harm. So they can contribute to falls and fractures, can cause confusion and memory problems, can cause premature loss of independence, and, can also ask 5 questions to your healthcare providers. And then here are some resources for you to consider, which will be in the resource package. And again, I'm sorry for all the slides and all that information, but I just had so much to share with you all today. I know it's just the tip of the iceberg. And again, it will probably also depend on where you reside as well.
Thank you so much, Janet. Wealth of really interesting and helpful information. And your session was recorded. We will make the slides and the resources available so that people can go back over all of that information in their own time.